Hello, this is Manash Patel from Ichimoiku Trade. Today is May 23, 2016. This is our global currency Forex update where we're going to go through all the different major currencies, go through, talk about their sentiment, talk about their support resistances, and so forth. So you could have a good idea on how you should be trading these, both on a day trading, swing trading, or long-term perspective. Before we begin, let's go for a normal disclaimer to state this is for education use only. We're not soliciting you to buy or sell any particular instrument. If you do so, you're doing that at your own risk. All information is owned by EII Capital Group, cannot be copied or distributed without our permission. We are broker neutral, so we support all the various charting brokerage platforms out there, since Ichimoiku is a free indicator. However, today what we can do is we're going to use Thinkorswim for currencies to go through all the major currency pairs. Here are my contact details here, so if you have any questions or feedback or anything like that, you could give us a ping at our email at info@eiicapital.com, or you could give us a call at any of our office locations there. Okay, so let's begin. And what I want to do is I want to cover all the major currency pairs. Okay, we have this ability to pretty much look at any pair, but we're going to start with all the major pairs. And the way we have our screen layouts is that we have the weekly time frame on the top. We have on the bottom left hand corner we have the daily. The bottom right hand corner we have the monthly. We always want to kind of look at the weekly and kind of get a big long term view on the weekly time frame. If the weekly is not sufficient, then we'll sit there and go down to either the daily or the monthly, especially if we're trying to sit there and see if it could reverse and stuff like that. Okay, so here's a chart of the Australian CAD. You can see the sentiment is bearish. However, it's in a big consolidation pattern, and there's this little small consolidation pattern right now between 93.60 and 96.20, and you could kind of see what's going on here. We broke below the cloud here. We're kind of expecting a pullback all the way up to here, and then sit there and test that level to see if it's going to go down. Now, if you could see from the daily time frame, things already started trending going down. So the probabilities of it coming all the way up here are going to be slim unless you have some volatility there. If it does, it's going to show some weakness, so that's not good. That's why we're saying that this is going to consolidate long term instead of short term, and it's due to basically the daily and the weekly are not pretty much agreeing, and you can see for the monthly time frame it's been consolidating for a long time. Australian Swifty is the next one here. This one's in the cloud here on the weekly time frame, so this is basically the sentiment still consolidation. However, it's got high probability more towards bearish side, changing to bearish because it's very close to the bottom of the cloud. The levels that we have here is a major resistance that's holding this thing down is 71.75. That's basically controlling the probabilities towards the bearish side. And if it does sit there and start getting below the cloud, it's going to have come all the way to retest that low here, which is at 68.27. Okay, now the key thing is if it does retest this low here, it does have a high probability of breaking it. If it breaks it, it's going to start a major trend on both the weekly, daily, and monthly. So you're going to have a multiple time frame trend scenario. So that's really good there. But the key is it's got to break this here. But this is bearish as long as this resistance holds right there. Next one, let's go to Australian yen. Australian yen, this is bearish trending, ugly as it may look. It's being controlled by this resistance here at 82.39. As far as support is concerned, you can't really see a support on a daily or weekly time frame, so we're having to go to the monthly. The next support on the monthly is going to be roughly around 74.54, which if you sit there and zoom out on the monthly, you could kind of see it's this little area here, ugly area here. But you could see there's a lot of support you're going to run into to get to that journey, but there's a major support right at that level right there. Next one's going to be Australia, New Zealand. This one here, even though the sentiment's bearish, you could see it's kind of consolidating right in the cloud here, in the middle of the cloud. And you could see the new consolidation pattern right now is basically at 1.0812, and the support is going to be 1.05454. This is bearish in high probability to get the support as long as we basically live below that resistance level there. And you can see the daily time frame now is starting to trend, especially when it broke below the cloud here. And you could see that this is the bottom of this whole little peak right here, right there. So this tried to go for a major pullback here in this ugly pattern here. It didn't quite do that for the last couple of months. However, it's starting to go bearish again, with the New Zealand's getting stronger compared to the Australian dollar, and you're starting to see a high probability of retesting this key support level here. If it breaks that support level here, watch out, this will have a high probability of retesting that low and going lower towards the end of this year. So this could sit there and start entering this long-term multiple time frame sell scenario by the end of this year for sure. Next one's going to be Australian USD. In Australian USD, the sentiment's bearish. You can see it was in a nice bearish trend here, did a major pullback, and now it's trying to sit there and go lower again. The resistance that's controlling this is 73.41. The support that we're looking for it to get to is about 70.97, which is the major support right there. And you can see the daily time frame's kind of getting there. It is right now at a minor support level right around 7,200. So it's got to break that minor support to get to this major one here, which is a 70.97. Okay, let's move on. CAD Switzy. If you look at CAD Switzy, this is just consolidating a nice little tight range between 72.68 and 77.79. You can see that big consolidation pattern there. You can see that the daily time frame, now it's kind of touched the bottom of the support here, didn't quite touch its resistance at all. That's not good at all for the bulls, for the CAD Switzy. This is more starting to be bearish, and you can see that there's a minor resistance level that's holding this daily time frame, which is roughly about here. So the probabilities are this right now short term is to go bearish to get to the support here, as long as this resistance, this minor resistance at 75.75 holds. It's got a high probability to get to 72.68. Next is CAD Yen. This is really based on a lot of oil plays right now because it's correlated to oil. You could see that this is bearish sentiment. It's being controlled by resistance at 85.95. As long as we're below that resistance, we've got a high probability to get to the major support at 80.91. If you look at the daily time frame right now, we had a couple of chances. We're at a major support right now at 83.32, which is roughly right there. But you could see we kind of broken it a couple of times here. So this is one little ugly chart here. But you could see from the monthly time frame here that this major resistance is controlling everything. This went bearish and is slowly trickling down here. The key thing is that the daily's really got to break down. If the daily breaks down soon, within the next couple of months, then basically we're going to sit there and start a bearish trend on multiple time frames here. And it's got about 2 more months to sit there and break down. If it doesn't, this thing's going to remain in a consolidation pattern until some major support resistance is on a higher time frame breakdown. Next, we're going to go for Switzy Yen. Switzy Yen is a bearish trend. It's being controlled by this resistance here at 113.68. Support basically is about 108.65, which is coming from the monthly time frame. But you can see that the daily is also in a trend too. Next you have is going to be the Euro currency. So Euro Australian is the next one. You can see that this is consolidating right now. This, believe it or not, because of the daily time frame, it has more high probabilities towards the bullish side, and it's being controlled by the support at 1.5140, and its resistance, which is kind of holding right now, is what, 1.5562. So we're waiting for that resistance to see if it breaks. If it breaks, then this thing will sit there and go higher to 1.6027. If that resistance holds, then we're going to have a high probability to come back down here, but the probabilities are still towards the bullish side until some supports get broken. There's a minor support here at 53.64, so this will remain bullish as long as we maintain that support right there. Euro CAD, you could see here is sentiment is bullish, but not really, and the reason why it's being controlled by a higher time frame consolidation pattern between 1.4287 and 1.5067, which is right there. There's a minor support that's developed at 1.5490. So as long as this support here holds, we got a high probability of getting to this resistance level there. And you could see that the same thing here is because price now is closing the cloud here. So it looks like it's going to try to sit there and possibly go through that cloud to get to that resistance level there. Euro Switzy, this one here, you could see his sentiment is bullish here on both the daily and weekly. The sentiment's being controlled by the support at 1.0982 is the support that's controlling it. However, it's at a minor resistance level now, so that's going to tell us if this is strong bullish or not. If it holds here, this thing could sit there and possibly reverse. And today, believe it or not, the next couple of days is going to be very, very critical. If it breaks that resistance, well, then we got a high probability of getting to 1196. And if we break that, we're going to sit there and start going all the way back up. So it's at a very critical injunction now. We're really monitoring this day by day to kind of see exactly what's going on there. Euro pound. Euro pound here is bullish. However, it's doing a pullback right now. The resistance that's controlling the pullback is at 78.82. The support level is trying to get to is about 75.49. So that's the support level there. Let's keep on going. Euro yen. Euro yen is in a bearish trend here, and it's being controlled by a resistance at 124.79. You could see that, and you could see the support it's trying to get to is about 119.61. So that's basically that one right there. That one's easy because the daily is also consolidating. In a bearish trend too. Euro New Zealand. Euro New Zealand here is consolidating. It's got a high probability more towards the bullish side here, and that's what the charts are telling us. However, you're at a very critical support right now, 65.16. So it's got to sit there and hold this in order to get that through resistance. If it breaks this, then this is going to sit there and try to retest this low here, and you have the monthly and the daily will be also supporting it too. So you're at a very critical time right now. That basically where this support level has to hold. If it doesn't, this thing's going to sit there and tank and to retest that low, especially on the monthly time frame here, right there. Next one you have is Euro USD. Euro USD is consolidating here. You could see that, and it's stuck between this little range here between let's see, what is that, 1070 and 1383. That's the range is stuck between right now, and you can see that the dailies is basically in the cloud too. The daily's trying to take this thing down, so there's a high probability we're going to get to the support level here and then possibly bounce off there and to go higher to continue this consolidation pattern. Pound Australian, you could see here that this is going for a pullback right now. The resistance level it's trying to pull back to is right there, and you could see that we're pretty much touched it once right there. So the range that we're in is 93.10 to basically 378, which is right there. So we're at that resistance layer, and you can see that the daily time frame is still bullish, so you can't really sit there and do anything until this starts to break down. If we get below this minor support level here at 99.49, then our probabilities increase to get to that support level here. As long as we maintain the support level here, we got a high probability of breaking that level here and to go higher, which could mean to retest this high all the way up here. Pound CAD. Pound CAD is bearish sentiment here, bearish trending, but it's going for a pullback. The pullback resistance is basically at 92.70. That's the level it has to hold, and you kind of got very close to it here, but didn't quite touch it. But that's the major resistance there. As long as that resistance holds, then this still has high probabilities towards a bearish trend to go to the downside. Now, this missed it by a couple of points. That means it still could now go down. It just means it's strong bearish and the bulls are kind of winding down. But you kind of need this support level here at 88.44 to kind of get below there to increase the probabilities to get to 86.39 and to sit there and break it to go retest the low. So that's the levels that are controlling everything. Pound Switzy here, you could see it's in the consolidation. It's trying to pull back to that resistance level of 44.95. Already did there once, so now it's got a high probability it could sit there and come back to the support level, which is at 41.34 to continue its consolidation pattern. However, the daily time frame is still very strong bullish, so you can't really say it's going to come all the way down here. We have to kind of gauge to kind of see exactly what's going to happen here, and so we have to see in the next couple of days, especially look at the lower time frames to see if it's going to make a move to break that resistance or to come back to that support, all because the daily is still very strong, and you could see that the monthly is bearish. So you got a lot of conflict going on with the different time frames there. Pound yen, you can see here it's a nice bearish trend here. It's trying to do a pullback. The pullback is being controlled by support at 157.89. As long as that support holds, then we'll have a high probability to get to 163.05. And that, if you could see from the daily time frame here, it doesn't look like the support's going to hold, so there's high probability we're going to break down. And if we break down, we've got a high probability of coming all the way to, believe it or not, down here to this level for the pound yen right there. So we have to keep an eye on this one, especially this week, because it's at a critical support level. Next is basically the pound New Zealand. Pound New Zealand is basically in a bearish trend. It's going for a pullback. It's being controlled by a support level at 1050 is a support level it's being controlled by. It's being basically held by a minor resistance level here, which is at basically 1713, which is right there. So we're consolidating between those ranges there. If we break this resistance level, then we're going to basically, this bearish trend is going to end, and we're going to enter a consolidation pattern where we believe the high of that consolidation pattern is going to be around 2221, and the low is going to be about 1050. So it's going to be very critical to kind of see exactly what happens with that one this week too. Pound USD, you could see pound USD is basically bearish trending but going for a pullback. The pullback's being controlled by a support at 43.84. As long as that support holds, this has a high probability of coming back here to 46.72. And you could see that the daily is consolidating between these two ranges here. As far as for the bulls are concerned here, this is not looking good because it had a chance to start a trend here, started a chance to start a trend here. It did not happen. If it breaks that support, which it was trying to do, this thing's going to sit there and break down to a point the pound USD will continue its monthly trend to go to the downside. So this is one to be very, very cautious with the dollar starting to get very strong compared to the pound. But it still needs to break down. New Zealand CAD is consolidating. It's in a minor consolidation pattern now. You could see here between 88.23 and 89.57. You could see that price is trying to get to this resistance level there, and it will have a high probability to get there as long as the support here at 88.23 holds. New Zealand Switzy, you could see here that's basically in a consolidation pattern. It's being held by a support at 66.32, and it's trying to go higher to the resistance level at 68.87. New Zealand Yen is basically in a nice bearish trend being controlled by a resistance level at 75.36, and it's trying to get to a support at 72.24. New Zealand USD is basically in a consolidation pattern here, and you could see that it's very close to support here at 66.95, and at the top of the consolidation pattern it's going to be about 68.62. Let's go to the US pairs. US CAD, you could see here that basically it's consolidating now, being held by a support at 28.08, and it's trying to get to resistance level at 32.95 is the resistance level it's trying to get to. US Switzy is basically also in a consolidation pattern, basically being held by support at 97.96, and it's trying to get to resistance level at 99.49. And then US Yen here is basically being in a consolidation pattern. It's going for a pullback with a bearish trend here on the weekly time frame, but basically the support that's holding this consolidation pattern is 108.72, and it's trying to get to this resistance level at 112.14, which is the major resistance level there. Okay, that completes everything for our currency futures. If you guys have any questions, here are our contact details here. Thank you and have a good day.